Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. I know what you're thinking.
This doesn't look like Budapest. This doesn't look like Barcelona. This, in fact, does not look like Europe at all.
You would be correct. My sexy ass is not in Europe. My sexy ass is in Maryland. I did not end up traveling. And in this video, I'm going to unpack the whole healing journey that allowed me to get to this point where essentially I honored myself and I did what I wanted to do, which, you know, really came down to understanding the relationship between attachment and authenticity. So I'm going to talk about that in today's video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the family. We're growing. Y'all are the best. Seriously, you know that, but it's always good to hear the truth, you know, again. So y'all are the best. Let's go ahead and get started. So if you watched my very first live that I did earlier this week, then you know that I was not actually trying to go on that trip. I didn't like get into it. I just kind of talked about just, you know, the effort that comes with having to learn a new culture, that constant change of getting on flights and all that. But I think what was really going on is that I was in a very different place when I agreed to do all that traveling. I had just quit my job. I was in Mexico City, so I was already like in that traveling mindset. And I wanted to go, and I think I also wasn't as healed around my self-worth and self-value as I am now. So I think those are the reasons why I agreed to go in the first place. And I think we all have been there where we agree to do something. When the moment comes to do it, we realize we actually didn't want to do it. Flaking on this was another, and I feel like we should not use flaking, you know, because that seems very derogatory. We should use honoring ourselves. But honoring myself by not going on this trip, this is not the first time I had flaked on some plans, all right? I think there's been like 3 or 4 different things, from like often like traveling, like I was supposed to travel to New York to just go to a concert, travel to Mexico for a friend's birthday party, go to like a crab feast with my sister, all this dope stuff that I was just like, yeah.
I can't. I don't want to do none of this stuff. I don't want to do none of it.
Don't make me. And you can't make me, which is amazing. No one can make you do anything. Essentially what happened is it was the morning of, truly was the night before, right? And I like went to bed, and then I was up at like 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. Those crazy storms happening, and literally just like non-stop lightning and thunder. I grabbed a video of it and I sent it to my friend who's in Cape Town, and since the time zone is different, she was up and she was like, you want to chat? And I was like, yeah. So we ended up literally speaking all night long, and I have a flight, theoretically. I have a flight the next morning, but I'm still chatting with her, and she's like, girl, what are you doing? You know, don't you got somewhere to be? And I just realized, like, yeah, I actually just don't want to do it. And I had all this emotion in my spirit, which is how you know there was something that I wasn't quite addressing. And she said something to me that really just hit the nail on the head, and it was that it could have been that after quitting my job, because there was so much uncertainty and so much was fluid, having plans made me feel like there was some sense of control that I had. And that really resonated with me, you know, because having a job is such a structure to your life. You know, it controls what you do 8 hours of the day, every day minimum, right? It controls where you get your money from. It can control where you live. It can control who you talk to. So all these decisions become made for you, right? And that's easy. It's so easy to float and to coast. And I removed myself from that comfortability, and now I was just out here, you know, being a traveler, which is also something that is important to my identity, is being the sexy ass international traveler, hopping continents, going wherever she pleases. Like, I like that idea. I like that identity. And so I realized that these are things that would kind of make me feel good as I dealt with so much uncertainty and so many other parts of my life. And having it named like that so explicitly, I was like, yeah, that's definitely it. So I'm right now in Maryland with my sister. I lived here for a month, and then I went to a sublease in DC because I've got a bunch of friends and stuff who are in DC. I wanted to be closer to them. And as y'all know, I'm sleeping on the couch, and it's like, I'm a woman, so I really would love to sleep on a bed as I deserve, you know? And so I was like, let me just switch it up just for a little bit. And then once I was there, that meant that literally every month since quitting, I was in a new location. And once I was there, the last thing I wanted to do, after also paying for it, the last thing I wanted to do was then like up and leave and go on all these like trips all over. So I was just canceling things left and right. But I want to talk more about like how I found myself even in that situation, and what I've learned, and how I am actively healing so that I won't find myself in situations like that again. So a couple of weeks ago, I was watching a Gabor Mate video called When the Body Says No. And it's all about the ways that we in our spirit, we know in our spirit exactly what we're supposed to be doing, exactly what we want to do, but because of many factors, we ignore those things. And we can only do that for so long before our actual physical body starts to reject this like lack of honoring yourself and honoring your truth. And one thing he shared in this video was this idea of attachment versus authenticity. So when we're babies, literally we need our parents to take care of us. We will not survive unless our parents take care of us. And so we do what we have to do. We adapt to make it so that our parents will actually stay and take care of us. And then if we think about our old history in tribes, not even old history, so people are still in tribes, but when we belonged in tribes, it was necessary to be in that tribe for survival. We would not be able to survive by ourselves out in the wilderness. So belonging to a group was incredibly, incredibly important. So if there are ways of being, like being our authentic self that actually would put us at odds with the group or at odds with our parent, or at odds with our society and culture, it is very hard to live into those parts because we want to survive, right? We want to live, we want to belong, you know? And so that can mean that we turn down the parts of ourselves that are true and authentic because we feel as if those parts cannot be accepted and we still have that love and that belonging that we also crave. And I think being in LA, like going into a new community especially, I was hyper aware of the importance of building my community, right? Of belonging. And that was over the becoming part, right? Something Thomas People says is like a lot of things just come down to becoming and belonging. So like being our full self and like belonging in a group where we're loved as that full person, right? And when I was in LA, I was like, I'd already heard about how lonely and isolating the city could be. And so I was like, all right, my number one goal is going to be building my community while I'm in the city. And that meant that I was like bending over backwards to go to events, to connect with people, to talk to people, to go to parties, like all this kinds of stuff, because it was my number one priority to belong, to find my tribe, find my people, and fit in there. And it worked out. You know, I met a bunch of dope people, had a bunch of great experiences, made a bunch of great relationships. But I remember I was out with a group of friends. It was the end of the night, we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, and I was very much tired and ready to like call it a night. And my one friend was like, how about you, Chimda? You still kind of like, you know, you still want to be out? And I was like, oh no, I'm fine. And she was like, people pleaser. And I was like, damn, with the attacks, you know, like that shit, it felt like a knife in my heart. I was like, but I think it's because it was true. Like I was denying what I actually wanted because I didn't want to offend people. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, you know? And I think that was the main thing with the Europe trip, is that these are my friends, we go way back. There was such an excitement around this trip, and so I didn't want to be the one to like cancel it, to ruin the plans, right? And I didn't necessarily know if they would receive it, you know, if they would receive it from a place of like, we get it, versus we should have said this much earlier, we wasted all this time and energy and money, like all this kinds of stuff, right? Thinking things are going to be so much worse in terms of that conversation is a major reason why we don't have the conversations we're supposed to have in our life. So when I kind of made the decision, and the way I kind of made the decision also, I think, had some wisdom and reflection points for me. So I kind of spent the whole night talking to my one friend, and that's when I kind of realized like, yeah, my spirit really isn't aligned to this. And then I chatted to another friend, and this is a guy who I met via YouTube, right? And so he knows me like from YouTube first and then as a real person in life. And he was like, what would you tell your subscribers to do? And I was like, because I literally just spent like 3 days working on this pitch for Adobe. I was in the Adobe Creator Camp, and part of the experience included pitching to Adobe to get a sponsored video. And in that pitch, you have to say who you are, what your channel is about, and all this kinds of stuff. So I had just had to sit down and say, what am I about? What is my channel about? What am I doing here? And what I came up with was, I believe we should do what we want, when we want, and not let anyone stop us, assuming of course that you're not hurting anybody, and that I believe that people subscribe to me because I'm not just talking vulnerably and honestly about living my like full creative beautiful life, but I'm like showing them like this is what it looks like to do that, because you can also do it too. And I was like, that's what I stand for, right? And so he was like, okay, well then basically you can't just be that on the internet, you got to be that in real life. And I was like, valid. And so yeah, I realized like what I wanted to do in that moment was to chill and to rest and to relax and to heal and to create and to not be running around. Like there was nothing in Budapest, there was nothing in Barcelona that I needed or wanted, you know? And not even to mention, because this honestly wasn't even a factor for me, and it should be, not even to mention that there is currently still a whole pandemic. I wasn't concerned about that. The main thing was that for me personally, there wasn't anything calling me to those places, you know? And my friend asked me, if you hadn't already booked this stuff, would you still go? And I was like, no. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi from my sister's couch, aka my new home. Let me know in the comments, are you a people pleaser? Do you know it? Are you gonna change it? Do you say yes to things? Are you a flake? Where are you in your journey around honoring your own truth? Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Y'all are so dope. Also, this blanket is the softest blanket I've ever experienced in my whole life, and it makes me genuinely really, really happy. Okay, back to the video. It wasn't even a doubt. I was like, no, I definitely want it. And it was just so interesting because like so many times we build up these things in our head and it really just comes down to literally going on my phone and just just like typing up an email, right? And so I sent them an email like, hey y'all, listen, I'm tired. I don't want to go. I need to chill. I've been running around. And of course they were like, oh, you know, they were sad, but they were understanding. They were like, we get it, girl. It was not this like, how dare you, you know, and all these kind of recriminations and things. And I think my healing journey has been really, really key to how I've been able to get to this place of actually saying what I want, when I want, and how I want it. That healing has allowed me to realize that that is good, you know, and that is valuable, and that truly I am enough. And it's helped me attract people who further affirm that. And even in terms of like my just personal relationships, so just friends and partners and people who are just kind of saying like, you're not your body, you're not your YouTube channel, you are not like all these things, like you are you, and that is what makes you great. And then even here on YouTube, I had a beautiful comment left for me. The person that deleted, we chatted about that in the comments already. They said something that I thought was so profound because I didn't even understand what was going on. But in like this whole conversation I've been having with y'all around my editing, she kind of pointed something out that I didn't realize, which was like, you're not your editing, Chimdi. Like that's not why we like you. Like you are enough. It's not about all these bells and whistles, that you don't have to do all this shiny tap dance for us. Like it's just you being you that we are responding to. And I had no idea that that was what was like going on subconsciously, was that I did believe that like, yes, y'all like me, I think I'm cool, but I was like, but it really is the editing, it really is the B-roll, it really is all this other stuff that y'all really like and that will make my channel grow. And if I were to just show up how I want, which is just to just like rap with y'all and chat with y'all, right, that y'all would be like, no, can we get some B-roll, you know? And some people did leave comments like, listen, give us that B-roll. And I was like, I understand, because it's fun. It's not like I don't like to do that stuff. That stuff is fun, but you know, it's just thinking that that's the only way I can show up as a creator that was really boxing me in. And to like do my first live and have so many people just give me beautiful feedback around it. And so I put out this poll and I actually asked y'all, I was like, okay, how do y'all feel about highly edited videos, you know, some editing, doing the lives, or just like, you know, you're subscribed, I can just kind of do whatever I want. And so many of y'all were just like, girl, do what you want, we here for you. And I was just like, literally, I cried. I literally cried because I was just like, oh, y'all really rock with me. And just, yeah, you know how it is, y'all, when you got trauma, when people are like, we love you, you're like, really? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, really? You're like, yes. So I was gonna promise to stop asking you all for confirmation that y'all rock with me, but I can't make that promise because I might still need it later. But one of the major promises I have made as a result of this experience is to stop saying yes to things, to stop agreeing to things, you know, like sleep on stuff. Never agree to anything the same moment someone asks me, just always sleep on it, and lean towards no versus leaning towards yes, and only do it if I really, 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 really want to do it, and not if I just would feel guilty if I said no to doing it. And that's going to be one of my major like strategies moving forward, is like asking myself, do you actually want to do this and why, you know? And I was thinking about the affirmation about choosing courage over comfort, and I think as a former introvert, sometimes the courageous thing to do is to put yourself out of your shell, to go to the party that you might feel nervous about, to talk to the person that you might feel nervous about, whatever it is. Like that is the courageous thing. But actually, in this current state I'm in, where that people pleasing is actually the part of myself that I'm healing, the courageous thing is to actually stand up for what I want. And the courageous thing is to actually honor myself and how I want to spend my time and spend my energy. And that looks like actually saying no to go to different things, you know? It's definitely something I'm still growing and learning into. I truly like told like 2 people that I wasn't even going to Europe because I feel like they would be like, great, let's hang out. And I'd be like, wait, no. I need to be inside. It could also truly just be that I'm reverting to introversion. Like I could truly just be reverting to introversion. I put that video out a while ago about like how I changed my personality, and that was a function of, you know, being in LA. And maybe I was an introvert here in Maryland, so maybe truly something about being back in Maryland and living a life where I can just sit on the porch and stare at trees and look at the sky, and there's so few disturbances in my spirit, and I'm just really attracted to that, you know. And I've been reading, I think this was in A Course in Miracles, and it talks about how when you realize kind of who you are and what your spirit truly is, and how your default state genuinely is peace and calm and joy, every situation, like your tolerance for being in situations that don't meet your needs gets lower and lower and lower, because you realize you don't have to be there. Like it is a choice to be putting yourself in a situation that is making you feel bad. So you can just dip whenever you want. And I think that's what's happening, is I'm like, every situation that doesn't allow me to truly be my full self and truly show up in a way that honors myself, I just can't rock with it anymore, you know? And I feel like I already have a pretty small circle. I feel like I just have to embrace the fact that that means that there'll be fewer people who are like major parts of my life, because I just won't have the desire to, you know, exchange that energy in a way that builds these relationships. And that's something I haven't quite accepted yet, because I want to have a bunch of friends. But it's all about the healing journey, so I'm gonna do what I can. That's basically it. I think the main thing is I'm just gonna be way more careful with saying yes to things, because I don't want to be a flake. Like I want it to be that when I say yes to something, I'm gonna show up, and that means that I have to be very, very careful about what I say yes to. I hope this video has been interesting and helpful, and you've enjoyed these reflections. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if it has. Subscribe to see more, and I'll see you on the next one.